RED is a means of reducing carbon emissions into the atmosphere. It was a coalition of rainforest countries that got together in 2007 at the Conference of the Parties for the Kyoto Protocol. They put the RED agenda on the negotiating table in terms of the climate negotiations. And the basic concept is that as developing countries, they need to provide jobs and prosperity for their people. And one way that has historically been done has been to convert the rainforests into production agriculture or other ways of earning livelihoods. So under the RED initiative, what was proposed was that concept of economic compensation to countries with tropical forests for their foregone opportunities of not deforesting the rainforest. What we know is that in West and Central Africa, agriculture is the principal driving force behind deforestation. And in particular, the practice of slash and burn, where you cut the forest and you get maybe 30, 40 tons of wood ash after you burn the forest. That wood ash that falls to the ground is loaded with potassium, some trace amounts of nitrogen, but basically it's a fertilizer. It's also a liming agent that brings the pH of what are typically fairly acid soils. It brings it up to an acceptable level and allows the farmer to cultivate that piece of land. The idea of fertilizers for forest is really about the idea of sustainable intensification led by policy changes that would offer farmers now an alternative to cutting down the forest and burning it to get the wood ash. The alternative is that, yes, the forest has to be cut, but once it's cut down, you get a more permanent agriculture where you substitute your fertilizers for the forest biomass. So when we say fertilizers for forest, we're saying fertilizers as a substitute for forest. And we believe that this type of intensification is a necessary condition for preserving what's left of the West African rainforest, which is very little. There's maybe 18% of what once was still existing. And it's also the only way that we will conserve the Congo Basin rainforest. There are two ways that we can play a role. One is to support policy-led intensification and support it by working with our NARS partners and soil fertility management. And by doing that, we're taking the pressure off of the rainforest. So we're contributing to a slowing of global warming. So that's on the mitigation side. But on the opposite side, we know that climate is getting warmer. The predictions are that within another 70 years, temperature could rise by more than 3 degrees. We also know that agriculture doesn't respond to warmer temperatures, that there will be a reduction in yields. So we need to be focused on the climate response of our major production systems to climate change as it proceeds. Now, it will be a gradual change, so it's something that we need to be strategic about, but strategic in the long run. And we need to persevere and really, I think, strategize. Yeah, on the adaptation side, we also need to be working on drought-tolerant crops. So we need to do the types of adaptive research that will allow the African smallholders to deal with a changing climate. I think another aspect that needs our attention is the aspect of institutions. We have a problem with credit markets, we have a problem with crop insurance, we have a problem with input markets. So we need to strengthen these institutions. We need government policies that favor a private sector approach and that don't distort markets. From rural perspective, there's a lot more self-empowerment because democracy is starting to play the role that it needs to, which is giving the rural population a voice, and that voice is starting to be heard. And I don't think we're going to see business as usual because population is still growing quite fast, and we need to feed all those future mouths. And so we need to modernize agriculture, and farmers are starting to demand those types of services from their public servants.